Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you for the Chair of Digital History, for Professor Hiltman. Thank you, Philip, for this kind invitation. I'm very happy to be here to share with you my word, what is being now my word for 2 years. And I think it is these years we're living in now are a very exciting time to talk about digital humanities, since we now finally have computational capabilities that enable us to practically try anything we want and to bridge the gap even more between theory and practice. Even if today my talk will be more on the theory side of the digital paleography, and it will be more about the reflections that scholars and paleographers are having regarding the modeling of Arabic script. So as you have said, Philip, I am a second-year PhD student here at l'École pratique des hautes études in Paris, and I work between two chairs. So I'm in a double supervision between the chair of History and Codicology of Arabic Manuscripts, run by Nuria de Castilla, and between the chair of Digital and Computational Humanities, applied to the study of historical writing, run by Peter Stokes. And my PhD topic has evolved a little bit since the start. I now work on scribe identification. So I hold a doctoral fellowship in modeling and digital analysis of Arabic paleography for the Arabic Pal project, which is run by Judith Schlanger and Peter Stokes also. And my research project, of course, is an intersection between paleography and digital methods, but it really is exploring the potential of computational methods for paleographic analysis and specifically for scribe identification. I am comparing different approaches from barely digital to computational AI-driven approaches, and I apply them to a corpus of manuscripts attributed to a single scribe, in this case, Yaqut al-Mustasimi, who is a renowned 13th century master calligrapher who worked in Baghdad under the last Abbasid Caliph and also under the Ilkhanids after the Mongols arrived. He's a very famous personality, he's a major figure in Islamic calligraphic tradition, and he left a lasting legacy. We are very lucky to have approximately 200 manuscripts attributed to him, which is really the only case of this quantity of manuscript attributed to a single copyist in the Arabic tradition. So we have this legend that has a particular issue around his productions, his manuscript. So in the Arabic and Islamic tradition, the concept of imitation is not as similar as the concept we know of now when we want to imitate a scribe or a copyist. So we have these 200 manuscripts that are assigned, let's say, by Yaqut, that holds a colophon with his names. But there are different degrees. There are authentic ones and different degrees of forgeries, and some of them are not intended even as forgeries because of this concept of imitating the style, imitating the hand wasn't very clear in medieval time in the Islamic tradition. So in this context, my research proposes systematic paleographic analysis of this corpus. I use digital tools to assess the authenticity of these attributions and to identify also internal variations and detect potential changes of hand. Let's see how these manuscripts were produced when Yaqut al-Mustasimi was this legend. Even when he was alive, he didn't have a posterity fame. He was very famous when he was copying in the late Abbasid times. So beyond also the case of Yaqut al-Mustasimi, my research also aims to contribute to a methodological reflection of computer-assisted paleographic analysis with the field of Arabic manuscript and specifically for Arabic calligraphy, which is a highly standardized way of writing the Arabic script. So I will not bore you today a lot with my details of my PhD project, but moreover, we'll see together the general reflection around Arabic calligraphy and the modeling of Arabic script. But because I know we might be an heterogeneous group, so I thought that we could start by seeing just the basics of the Arabic writing systems, how did the Arabic calligraphy evolve, and then look at the ways to conceptualize the Arabic script. So as you might know, the Arabic, first of all, we write Arabic from right to left, so very different from the Latin writing system. But also in Arabic, it is an abjad system, so it's a writing system based on the indication of consonants in the script. So we have a consonantal skeleton that is the base of our script, and is composed of 17 basic letter forms, so graphemes. And then around these consonantal skeletons, we will find diacritical signs that are these dots that you can see, for example, here in red, right? These diacritical signs helps us to distinguish the different letters within the basic letter form. So between the N sound and the B sound, we have one basic letter form, but with different diacritic signs that go around and that mark the difference. Also, around the consonantal skeleton, we will find also vocalization signs that will come around that represent the vowels in the language in the script. So this is the structure of the script we are studying. Also, it is worth noting that within the Arabic writing system, so the Arabic writing system is represent different languages. So it could be Arabic language, the Ottoman, Turkish, Persian, and different Aljamiya, so different languages that were written at some point in Arabic script, like Bosniak or Old Castilian, different or even sub-Saharan languages. And it is a highly cursive script. It is always cursive, and the letter forms change depending on their position within the word and within the line, let's say, moreover the word. So we can go from an isolated form to a joined one, and even the joined one, depending on its position, changes in its form. We always have ligatures, so sometimes the letters are only joined, but also sometimes the ligature is abusive or consists of a nexus, and sometimes even the letters are assimilated between each other. So all of these components influence the way the writing is perceived. Also, the diacritical signs can be assimilated or not. How do we study them in relationship to their consonantal skeleton? So how do they present themselves, but also how do they present themselves in relationship with the skeleton? We also have different justification ways in the manuscript traditions that we look into as we see the Arabic script. So this is the basic framework that we work within. Also, you might very well know that the history of Arabic writing, even if the script itself is born from the cursive Nabatean one, so pre-Islamic, we can see here in a Nabatean inscription that shows very primary ligatures that we can find a little bit later in Arabic script. This is the basis of the writing system, but it has evaluated within the arrival of the Islam as a religion and with the expansion of the Islamic lands. We see here in my slide at right the oldest known Quranic fragment that we have here at the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, and we can see the beginning of the standardization of a way of writing this text. So the evolution of the writing, the evolution of calligraphy specifically, of the beautiful writing, is directly involved in the transmission of the Quran itself. So since for theological reasons, the copying the Quran couldn't be accompanied with human representations, or even we have some animal representation, but they are really marginal, like very, very marginal. But most of it, we wanted to magnify the word of God without being able to draw anything around except for magnifying it itself. So it became the decoration within the script. So what I didn't say also is that this fragment is one of the earliest Arabic script. It is a Hijazi script. So this script has a name linked to its geographical roots, which are the Hijaz, Mecca, and Medina. So we see the region that has known the earliest days of Islam. And then we can see with the expansion of the states and having a state apparatus around, we see efforts in magnifying the Quranic script. So these are all examples of Quranic manuscripts, and we can see aesthetical efforts, but not only. It's not only about aesthetic, but about standardizing the way we read the Quran. So standardizing the diacritics and the vocalization signs within the copying of the Quran. So these are what we know as Kufic, right, script, but what we call in scientific way Abbasid scripts, and are the first attempts after the Hijazi of having a beautiful script, a calligraphy, an Arabic calligraphy. Then within the course of this development of Arabic calligraphy, we have these three main figures that we know of that highly contributed to Arabic calligraphy, but in a way that they invented what we have now as the calligraphic script, which is the proportioned script. So one of these main figures is Ibn Muqla, and Ibn Muqla, what he did is that he invented a proportion system for Arabic script linked to a circle, the diameter of a circle. So in his system, all the letters of the Arabic script will be linked with measures to the diameter of a circle. And this is how we started to have a script that is proportioned and which will consist of the classical school of Arabic calligraphy. So Ibn Muqla arrives and proposes this way of standardizing Arabic calligraphy, and then Ibn al-Bawwab comes a couple of decades later and proposes another system for proportionate writing. He suggests that we use the dot of the kalam when put on the writing surface. So the kalam is the principal tool of writing the Arabic script through the centuries. And when we put the edge of the kalam on the writing support, we have this diamond shape dot that we call the nuqta, so the dot, and it is our measurement unit starting from Ibn al-Bawwab and on. So we have this system now that is depending on the calligraphy dots. After that, Yaqut al-Mustasimi, so the guy I study, arrives and continues within this dot proportioned tradition and establishes a canon of 6 main styles of the Arabic calligraphy. So these three figures represent really the shaping of the Arabic classicism, Arabic calligraphy classicism. Of course, we always link these developments, cultural and heritage developments, to main figures. It's not as clear as that, right? But it is just a way to symbolize and to look at these changes within a historical framework. For sure, there have been other additions of unknown scribes or maybe lesser known scribes, and it wasn't from a day and night change. It was more step by step and with different personalities involved, for sure. So we arrive at Yaqut al-Mustasimi, and he established this canon of the 6 pens, so the 6 styles that we know in the classical school, which are the Muhaqqaq, the Thuluth, the Rayhan, the Nasakh, the Tawqi', and the Riqa'. And these 6 styles will evolve through the centuries as the main styles of Arabic calligraphy in the classical school. This school now, which is the Baghdad school, the Iraqi one, has died, but also has evolved within the school of Istanbul, the Persian school. So it continues to evolve, and we still have now an alive calligraphic tradition with people that this knowledge has been transmitted to. So it is a transmission way that goes from the master to disciples and continue from a generation to another. When a disciple becomes as a master level, he gets a traditional diploma and ijaza that enables him to teach this style or another one. And it continues until today, when we have even here in Paris master calligraphers that belong to these century-long traditions. We can see here some examples, for example, of a Mamluk thuluth. script or a Naskh one. I'm always very, very curious to see if people see any change. Non-paleographers can see some differences in these manuscripts. So the names that are used, so the Naskh, the Thuluth, the Muhaqqaq, all have very clear signification in the Arabic language. Muhaqqaq is subliminal, so it is a majestic way of writing, and we can see within the manuscripts that we have in Muhaqqaq script, they are always linked to highly apparatus manuscripts, used especially in the Mamluk tradition. The Naskh means copy, so it is the main script that is used for copying, and we can go on and on with Tabqiya and Riqa also, which are chancery scripts more than Quranic ones. It's outside from this classical tradition that is in the Central Islamic lands. We have other geographical references for Arabic script that do not consider the point system or the circle system as their proportion. There are very different calligraphic tradition. We can see here in the Maghreb, upper left, or Sub-Sahara, down, and then Persian, Bihari in India, and even some Chinese Quranic manuscripts. These are all different scripts that are outside the proportioned scripts that I work on, for example, just to see the diversity that we have within the calligraphic tradition. I also put this slide here to remember, so that we all remember that I'm talking about calligraphy, so highly standardized way of writing with specific rules and with an aesthetical effort. It's not about all text and all documents within the Arabic tradition independently. Now, where do we stand within the paleographic studies, right? How did paleography evolve within Arabic manuscript context? We always like to say that we are far behind. We're not as developed as the Latin paleographers, for example, but the history of Arabic paleography is very different. When people started getting, and scholars started getting interested in Arabic paleography, the calligraphic tradition was still alive. So while we were studying ancient manuscripts, we had these same scripts still existing and still being copied in the Islamic lands. So when paleographers started inquiring about different types of script and trying to decipherate sometimes some document, they had an alive tradition and calligraphers that could help with terminology, but also with reading the documents. So it is quite different. We kept copying different religious books in the Arabic lands until the 20th century, for example, in a systematic way in the madrasas and the different religious contexts. So this is how it started, and then the approach always continued to be really rooted in the analysis of the literature that we have. So we have this very big tradition in Arabic paleography that is rooted in the analysis of medieval sources. So it always focuses on interpreting the classic Arabic treatises on calligraphy and to offer some insights into historical classifications and perceptions of the script styles. Of course, it aimed to systematize the terminology and the typologies found in the literature, but we have a very big limitation, which is that we do not have corresponding manuscript specimens to this literature. So we have a lot of literature around calligraphy, but it changes a lot from a region to another, from a time to another, and we do not always find matching specimen to this. And also there is this a huge problem in terminology in Arabic paleography, which is we have very specific terms used for describing the script. But these terms are sometimes used, for example, in a certain way in the 11th century Iraqi context, and then we find exactly the same term in a Mamluk context in Egypt, referring to exactly the opposite or a very different feature. So if we keep following that, we're kind of lost, right? With no specimens to match and with different literature sources saying everything and it's contrary. So we, for decades, explored this route and tried to develop this tradition that is linked to the classical and the historical sources, medieval sources on paleography. But then paleography is, even if we study this very old manuscript, it is a very modern concept and a very modern domain, right? It's about, and so people started developing scientific foundation to this discipline with precise terminology that doesn't rely on traditional text sources, but on direct analysis of the handwriting. And it is in this scope that the works of François Desroches on Arabic paleography became pioneering in this sense, because he started so to replace vague labels of the Kufic tradition, for example, that he studied a lot on an approach, a more rigorous approach, verifiable classification of script, so directly linked to the analysis of the manuscript and creating a typology grounded on dated material evidence. So he started with dated manuscripts from the Abbasid era, and then started creating series with similar graphical components to these manuscripts, and started completely out of the historical sources classification. So you can see the classes, they are A, B, C, A1, A2, and these are the classes the classes we have for paleographic description of the Abbasid style. Also, the shift between the Kufic as a name describing the styles to Abbasid is very is telling about the approach, because Kufic refers to the city of Kufa, which is in Iraq, but we have no material evidence that these fragments or these manuscripts were linked in a way or another to Iraq or to Kufa. But we have temporal evidence that link them to the Abbasid era. So this started like this was the beginning of paleography as with an empirical approach for Arabic scripts. In this continuity, my PhD and the project I belong to are continuing within this empirical way of describing the script, and we focus on the elaboration of tools and method for the structured annotation for Arabic script. So the retrieval of the identification and retrieval of the features and the analysis of the script within a definite framework. So I work within the Arabic team for a project of a digital paleography album. So the aim is to create this platform that enable the annotation and the systematic description of the Arabic script with definite menu and an ontology that will be elaborated step by step with the collaboration of different scholars writing, focusing on different writing systems. So I work on the classical schools, but it is an open platform that will keep increasing until we have let's say a consensus on typologies in Arabic paleography. We will never have a consensus, but a general framework for that. It is in direct continuity with the Hebrew Pal project and platform, which does that for the Hebrew script. So it enables the description of the elaboration of strict features that are linked to components that describe the script. So this is the Hebrew PAL project that is now very advanced, but the Arabic PAL one is in this continuity because Hebrew and Arabic are very similar in their particularities and also in the challenges they pose to modeling of the script. So these platforms are all the fruits of the digital framework, which is or archetype. It was digital previously and now called archetype, which is a framework that enables this structured annotation for paleographic description. So we have a strict terminology that we keep using and a conceptual model that is shared between these different platforms for different writing systems. So we can talk about transversal paleography in this sense because all these platforms belong to one specific framework that is always evolving, of course, but still, it's not. No one is working on his own side of the table without consulting a general framework. So within the digital framework, we start by always describe an allograph, right? So a form of a given letter that is common to a group of people. This is the description that I put here, but there are many descriptions for allograph, ungraph, and these different components. But let's say just so that we understand each other. So and then the allograph is is linked to a graph, which is the physical instance itself of the letter and the realization of its abstract ideal. An allograph has components, and these components are described with features that we add as our menus in the description. This is how we proceed. So this frameworks, what does it do? It enables us to define ourselves the letters that are more discriminative to our case study and to break them into different symbols. It also enables to adapt to specificities of each writing system. For example, in Arabic, we are very focused on the ligatures in that sense. We can choose to annotate some features and to keep aside other features. So it always, let's say, keeps the expert eye first before the machine one, if I can say. And then, of course, it allows to the crossing of different data and to be able to extract the entities that we are looking for. It doesn't require any training, and it is very well adapted to sources where we do not have a lot of data. And we can also export our annotation and then train different models with them. In our case, in Arabic paleography, I have decided to work with this grapheme concept of the basic letter forms and then to divide them into these different components. So the components are not just a component of an allograph, but it is a repeating component that that enables me to draw a comparison between different letter forms. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So within the Arabic letter forms, we always have ascenders, descenders, denticles, bores, counters, loops. You have the body of the letter itself, and we have these two strokes letter forms case. We have heads, and also, of course, specific cases. Otherwise, it will be too easy. And these components can be found in different letter forms, but what we describe are the component and not the letter form. So we describe the components that are part of the letter form. And one component can be found in different letter forms and will have one single menu of descriptions. So this enables a wider range of comparison. This is an example that we have here for the loops, for example, okay, in Arabic script. So the objective is to be able to describe these loops in a structured way in 2 or 3 words and to know what we're talking about. So without an image, I can understand what is the loop I am describing in this manuscript. So in this Yaqut al-Mustahsin's manuscripts, we have, let's say, a menu with 4 different ways of drawing the loop in 2 strokes, in a rectangular way, a knot-shaped way, and a triangle. Each one has a specific description, and every time I find in a manuscript a shape that is coherent with this description, I add it automatically to this label, and it doesn't require a new label with no systemic way of linking the different shapes that we find. And then we go to the diacritical dots that are around this letter form. So how are they? How is the dot shape? Is it a lozenge? Is it elongated, curved? If we have a pair of dots, how are they interacting between each other, and how the vocalization sign is described, and how does it interact with the diacritic signs and with the consonantal skeleton? So here the loop in this case. So in this way, we have specific description, but also a general one. So we can go into details with keeping the same framework for describing the different components. One addition to this pipeline can be, for example, as we have seen in the Arabic paleography studies, we have these letter forms that repeat. So if we have a loop, we can find a loop everywhere in different letters. If we have an ascender, it is the same. So if we can align these images of these loops of these components to the text and extract them automatically, that would make a big part of this working of this pipeline already done automatically. So if we can extract the components of the letter forms automatically, and then we have labels that are that we can work on within a definite style or within a family of script styles, and we can label them automatically or in an assisted way. So we can keep this framework of very let's say computer aided way, and not a machine. It's not a machine that does it directly, but we're aided by the computer, and have these automatic components that go within the pipeline and save us time and workload without skipping the expertise part of the paleographer itself. So this is the main the trick in this way of working, is that we keep control of what we're describing, and we can look exactly at the discriminative features and extract them, but we also can automate a big part of the work and go faster and brace data in a more massive way, let's say. And of course, we have within the team of Peter Stokes here at the École Pratique, Scriptorium as a platform that enables through an API to extract and to do image text alignment and be able to extract some these basic letter forms. That's great, right? To automate part of the work, but then still, if we are looking at just a way of having this duplication and multiplication of terminology and great descriptions of different writing systems, different languages, it is perfect, but it shouldn't be an inflation of terminology. It should lead us still to a structured way and to have the same a unique reference model to it directly. So in this sense, we always work within the framework of CRM text, and we always try to have our descriptions not only, to be able to extract discriminative entities and relevant graphic entities, but also to link them to a reference model and to be able to identify in a clear and, let's say, unambiguous way the entities involved in Arabic paleographic study, but in different systems, and link them to one single reference model. This is the big aim of transversal paleography. And in this sense, within the seminar of my PhD supervisor, so Peter Stokes, we look at a way to expand the CRM text so that it can be more suitable to historical writing study, and to be able to link all our different writing systems that we study to a same reference model. This is a work in progress. We're getting there, but this is the main framework of all our descriptions. So it is always to keep a single reference model and to be able to go in data crossing and to be able to, let's say, do comparison of the single hand in different writing systems, to always keep one reference model that enable this this way of working. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to comments, remarks, and questions. Thank you very much.